Hi, I'm Kendra Heimbuch, the Executive Director of Sage Community Arts. Welcome to our 10th Annual National Juried Show. We hope you enjoy this exhibit with diverse artworks from artists all across the United States. This show represents works from 31 different artists, including 11 members of Sage Community Arts. At Sage, we could not bring these sorts of exhibits into the community without the support of our business community. We'd like to thank our supporting sponsors, Best Western Sheridan Center, John Oman State Farm, Alpha Graphics, and the Wyoming Arts Council. And before I introduce the juror for our show, a special word from our presenting sponsor, First Federal Bank and Trust.
Hi, I'm Kim Wells, credit analyst at First Federal Bank and Trust. Part of our mission statement at FFBT is to support and improve the lives of our communities. We realize the success of our bank is dependent upon the success of our community, which is why we support the vibrant arts culture in Sheridan and Sage Community Arts. We hope you enjoy this exhibition of art. Thank you.
We are pleased to be working with John Taft as the juror for this show. John is an award-winning, nationally known oil painter from Longmont, Colorado. We are grateful for John's contributions to the arts in Sheridan and for his work with Sage in this show.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I am grateful to Sage Community Arts for inviting me to be the jury and the judge. One thing I want to say is that for any of you that can make it to this show in person, it's really worth it. So anyone in the show has already, it's quite an accomplishment. But coming and seeing the show in person, it's great to see the works in person and just see how strong the show is. One characteristic of the show is its eclectic nature, and there is a variety of work that comes from different concepts by the individual artists and different approaches in medium and philosophy, but ultimately the work has to stand on its own without any description, conceptual support. The artist has to convey in their work their idea, their concept. To make it easier for me, just to give you a little insight into my process, is I had 6 different categories. Hopefully I can recall them all. But first was the impact, the technique, the concept. Did you pull that off, or did it get in the way of a clear image? Drawing ability, design ability, these things that help convey, what makes a strong piece. So I want to mention the pieces that were also in the running for awards. We'll call them honorable mention. There's a piece called Raven's Call, which is a painted relief on a piece of glass. So it's a relief sculpture, but it's also painted, so it's 2D, yet it has a 3-dimensional presence. On the back is metal leaf, so you can see through the glass, see some of the metal reflecting, and it just has a unique presence here in the gallery. Another piece is called Jackson Lake Teton Morning, and it is a digital landscape, digital print, done in Procreate, I think it was. And frankly, for me, it was difficult to figure out how it was done. I realized there was a digital element, but the evidence of the hand involved in the mark making and the painting really created a unique quality to it, and it's a beautiful piece. So right there's 2 that show some of the variety that the show has to offer. Another piece is called Trouble Spotted, and that is a nice little pencil illustration, so to speak, story of an exquisitely drawn horse and some grasses and a porcupine. And the porcupine is the trouble, I think. So the pony looks like it's not in trouble, but beautifully, beautifully drawn and in pencil. Probably the most straightforward, simplest approach technically, yet exquisitely done. Another piece is called Garden Path, And it's a textile piece done in fabric and sewn together. And to fully appreciate it, you have to, well, in my case, I put on my reading glasses and get in tight. It's great. I mean, I was just trying to figure out how it was done. And the care and personal effort that the artists have done in putting into this, each piece is evident, and it's always an inspiration to me as an artist to see that. Well, it's time to talk about the awards. So there's 4 awards: Best of Show, First, Second, and Third. Like I was saying, this was not an easy decision. At this stage, basically, I looked at this grouping of 4 because they had gotten into this degree, into this stage, and I re-looked at them. And basically, I threw out the numbers, my judging criteria, and I just looked at the pieces personally. So let's start with third place. This is a great, strong, graphic, dominant piece. The impact of that piece from a distance is tremendous. And what makes it even stronger is that as the viewer go up close, you see the richness of the story. One of the apparent things immediately is that these are not brush strokes. These are pieces of paper that become brush strokes. And there's layers of paint on top of that, thin layers, glazes that add dimension to it. But there's also a story that, if you look more closely, is indicated in stencils and in the background of sheep, animals that tell a bit of the story. And there's also that element of the human interaction with the dog. It's just a great piece and very enjoyable. And in second place, we have Run 1. Here we have a paper relief sculpture. What a beautiful illustration. I mean, the whole piece works from the frame, the selection of the frame, and how everything is light, from the white mink to the snow, the trees, but the evening sky. A wonderful contrast to this piece, which just makes it stronger. So there's a beautiful unity, and the drawing of the sculpture, of the cut pieces of paper and the form, the subtle forms, really makes it a fresh and interesting way to look at this midnight story. So congratulations to second place. In first place, we have Red Shoes. Here is a painting of a pioneer woman in front of the home, and as a piece of art, it's just very interesting. If you take out some of the elements that that tell the story, whether it's the figurative element or the door, you have an abstract painting that is as interesting as anything. I mean, it's multiple layers. Every mark has significance and variety. The colors go well together, have nice tones. So from an aesthetic point of view and a contemporary perspective, it's really an interesting take. So I love the drawing. I want to just mention, the portrait portion of this painting is beautifully drawn, not overworked, and the proportions, the believability of the forms impressed me. So now we come to the Best of Show. And the Best of Show surprised me. One of the things with the Best of Show piece is how it grew on me as I was judging for the hours that I spent time here. And so this piece just rose to the level of strength and simplicity and clarity and singular quality. It's not a complex idea, so to speak, but it's a strong, simple statement of a strong, simple idea. And that goes to the painting Slim. In Slim, you see a portrait piece where it's evident to me as an artist that the artist was considering all the shapes, all the values, the story, the balance, the subtle adjustments of the light and dark. I mean, just even the difference between the shoulder color and the background color. It's not the same, it's just a little shift. The way the shadow on the face falls, but it unites with the underbrim of the hat. And that whole shape of the brim just balances beautifully and engages the subject. So, and then of course you have this red scarf, and it's an ample-sized red scarf. Usually you see these little bandanas, but this one is not mistaken. And that presence really helps hold and gives the painting its impact. One of the things that's used so well is these simple shapes that are put together, so then the area of most detail is the face that's in light. And so you're able to look at just the thing that is the most important. And so I think those elements are very successfully done in this piece. And so that's why I give it Best of Show. So congratulations to everyone, and I wish I had time to speak about everybody's piece, because something could be said about everyone. And I see in each piece something of the artist, and so I think I congratulate everyone, and job well done. Thank you.
Elk Study by Gerald Antelick. Oil. Birches by Edrie Meyer. Watercolor. Edrie Meyer says she loves the outdoors. The trees depicted in this work are located on the Red Great Trail, located on state and BLM land at the foot of the Bighorns. In painting this work, Meyer experimented with transparent watercolors and watercolor pencils. When viewing her work, she hopes you feel and see what she experienced when painting this scenery. Thank you for viewing and enjoying my painting, said Meyer. Red Rocks Trail by Shelley Hull. Acrylic on canvas. Garden Path by Carol Kolf. Fiber art. Garden Path is made of approximately 600 tiny half-inch pieces of cotton fabric, mimicking the look of pixels in a digital photograph. It is then covered with the tulle overlay and heavily thread sketched and quilted using a stationary machine. The fabric is guided under the machine to create the texture and lines. Kolf is drawn to trees and flowers and loves to include them in her work. The basis of this scene was inspired by the paths in a wooded area of Icy Strait Point, Alaska. Kolf's version includes many more flowers than what she saw in Alaska. Slim by Sally Gregory. Oil on panel. This painting is Sally Gregory's attempt at portraying the typical American West cowboy, all spruced up for a photo. His hat is a working hat, and he is sporting a new bandana, probably bought for the occasion. Falling Stars by Tim Haley. Watercolor and ink. In this imaginary scene, dozens and dozens of watercolor washes are layered in an effort to simulate the depth of a nighttime visual experience in the outdoors. The subject matter seeks to invoke the sense of peace often found under the stars. Red Shoes by Amy Brakeman Livezey. Mixed media. Amy Brakeman Livezey stated, "These shoes were not always red. As I built up layers of paint and texture, colors came and went. The red was covered up elsewhere but remained on the girl's shoes when at some point I felt it matched the spirit of her body language." A Long Day by Karen Barton. Oil on canvas. This little one was enduring a very long, hot day in heavy attire on the lawn of the Sheridan Inn last summer. The emotion in her face, the interesting play of light and shadow, and the beautiful handiwork of her regalia were the combined inspiration behind this painting. Ready to Run by Susan Grinels. Acrylic torn paper painting. Susan Grinels considers herself a multidisciplined artist, graphic designer, and sign maker. She likes to explore, experiment, and play with different media. Grinels is currently experimenting with printmaking, where she creates the paper used in her torn paper paintings with acrylic paint, stencils, and a gel printing plate. Cherry Lipstick by Barbara Barry. Oil. Keep Hiding by Doug Hunley. Gouache on cradled panel. Eucalypt by Tiffany Miller Russell. Cut paper. Birch Fox by Abby Lindstrom King. Pyrography and acrylic on wood panel. Abby Lindstrom King is an emerging artist from Billings, Montana. She combines pyrography pen techniques with acrylic paint to create pieces that blend elements of folk and fine art. The intricate pattern work is inspired by traditional patterns from her Swedish and Polish heritage, Nordic runes, and Pisanki. View West from the Upper Saddle by Joe Arnold. Pastel. Camaraderie by Blanche Guernsey. Oil. Blanche Guernsey hopes that her images might connect us. In the personal beginnings of selected objects, there is something universal in the stories and memories they evoke. Using bold brush strokes, she brings nostalgic objects to new life by pulling and drawing out unexpected colors that grab the attention of the viewer. The Raven by Anne McCune. Watercolor and Rotring black pen. Anne McCune says her art journey is short. Her first art class was in 2019 at Sage. She gravitates toward painting realistic animals, especially birds. McCune's son is an ink artist and suggested incorporating ink into the Raven to add depth and texture. McCune feels honored the Raven was accepted into this show. Run 1 by Tiffany Miller Russell. Cut paper. Between Two Worlds by Tanner Lauren. Bronze sculpture. When Horsepower Meant Horsepower by Sally Gregory. Oil on panel. This was inspired by a 1915 photo of the artist's friend's great-grandfather working in his field in northwest Wyoming with his team of 5. The frame is made of materials from the Heart Mountain World War II Japanese-American confinement site located between Powell and Cody, Wyoming. Luge Flagpole by Brooke McFerrin. Gouache. Brooke McFerrin is an avid mountain biker, and the trails are the inspiration for her art. She is inspired by the enticement of what may be just beyond the winding path. There is a flagpole in this painting of a popular Orange County, California trail called the Luge. You just need to look closely. McFerrin hopes you enjoy this piece. Raven's Call by Donna LaHue. Oil and gold leaf on glass. Donna LaHue has applied gold leaf and oil on glass to play with the reflective quality of light in two-dimensional forms. Beyond instant recognition of the raven's silhouette, LaHue tries to offer a more intimate connection. Gold leaf applied to glass creates a mirror-like reflection, thus the viewer becomes part of the image. Monarch Butterfly by Jacqueline Johnson. Colored pencil, ink, and watercolor. Jacqueline Johnson's ecology art focuses on scientific illustration and abstracted imagery. She finds inspiration in what she has seen and experienced while exploring the woods and waters in Maine. Johnson examines the small structures and textures of plants and animals to recreate them on a large scale. If the viewer can be drawn into the work so that they take the time to see the amazing forms found in nature, then she feels her work is successful. Predator's Cry, Bald Eagle by Joe Watkins. Scratchboard. Midnight Temptress by Jacqueline Reinhardt. Mixed media. A Tiny Ray of Sunshine by Pat Trout. Oil. Sheridan artist Pat Trout strives to create images that appear three-dimensional by using strong light, color, contrast, and details. Trout utilizes a wet-on-dry oil painting technique, building multiple layers to enhance a luminous effect. Dry brushing each wet layer smooths and blends. Portraying texture is especially challenging on critters and flowers, which are Trout's favorite subjects. Jackson Lake, Teton Morning, No. 1 by Pam Little. Digital painting with Procreate. Patience by Polly Burge. Watercolor and ink. Patience was created in Polly Burge's studio after a visit to Great Abaco in the Bahamas last February. This empty rowboat belongs to a retired schoolteacher and fisherman from the Cherokee Sound, a stone's throw away from the canal where Burge took the reference photo. The artist's objective was to capture the morning light through the trees and its reflection on the water. She was most interested in conveying the serenity of the resting boat, despite the busyness and refraction that surrounds it. Trouble Spotted by Rosemarie Zabon. Pencil. Law by Carl Morton. Ceramic mixed media sculpture. Law represents the savage nature of imperialism and the imposition of a dominant culture's concept of justice upon a subordinate culture. The chains, weapon, and stylized human qualities of the sculpture depict the primitive nature of the oppressor, as witnessed and remembered by those who are oppressed. Oval Vessel by Chris Pollock. Stoneware clay. Front Porch Bill by Weston Lambert. Cast glass and stone. Weston Lambert created the mold for this piece from the hand of William Shinsky, a Vietnam veteran. This cast hand is the initial example of what will be one of 30 cast glass hands from Vietnam veterans, titled Welcome Home, Once Forgotten. Open Field by Weston Lambert. Glass. Telebowl by Michael Plord, Raku-fired ceramic. This work is one of the works in a series in what Michael Plord calls the Telemark series. The bowl is not a representation of telemark skiing. Rather, it is a representation of how Plord feels while participating in the activity. More about the Raku process can be found at michaelplord.com. Oposano 2 by Brad Bachmeyer, ceramic with reed and cane. Oposano 2, or basket rim in Paiute, was created during an artist-in-residency at Red Rock Canyon, one of 5 National Park artist-in-residencies completed over 6 years as part of the Conservation Through Clay project. This work attempts to honor humankind's ancient and universal partnership with clay, while investigating the relationship between pottery and basketry disciplines. Thank you to all of our participating artists, and to all of you for watching. We encourage you to come on down to the Sage Gallery and view the exhibit in person, or go to our website at artandsheridan.com to view the online catalog.